Hi guys, once again, welcome back to Battle with Ola. This is Mujalalu and I'm so thrilled to have you here once again. I want to thank you for subscribing to the channel, for your likes on the videos and for your comments which continue the conversation. Thank you also for your amazing emails. Thank you to all my clients from Battle with Ola, and thank you to all the viewers as well and the subscribers. And I'd like to remind you that you can join the channel by paying a token which would give you access to some other further and better benefits, aside just subscribing. You can check that, the join button is just beside the subscribe button, and when you click it, it will show you the perks, available for you to choose and to pay for. And don't forget that you can always mail me at houseoflivingstones@gmail.com. When you check the description box for the videos, you would find a link for you to book a paid consultation with me if that is what you need. Thank you, thank you, thank you once again. Today we want to talk about a very important topic. I want to just share what I have come to understand as to the opportunities that are available for litigation lawyers in Nigeria. You know that in Nigeria there's no specialization, except we're deceiving ourselves. Even firms that are claimed to have specialized practices are firms that have just maybe built a partnership, or built a name for themselves over the years, and then they have sectioned or structured their firms into departments wherein their lawyers can now specialize. But we don't have the kind of specialization in Nigeria that is obtainable in some other countries, whereby a firm would just be maybe for personal injury, or a firm would just be for criminal litigation, or a firm that is all of that entire firm would just be for labor and employment matters. I don't think that we have that in Nigeria, and our training is also general in nature, such that we're not really trained to specialize as lawyers. But if litigation is your cup of tea and you're thinking about specializing, I have 10 areas here that I want to talk about wherein you can specialize. You can build a practice around these areas. And as we talk about it, you would also be able to recall one or two Nigerians that have made, Nigerian lawyers now, that have made a name for themselves by specializing in some of these aspects of law. So you can decide to build your own practice around it. What it will do for you is that it will help you niche. I have a short clip on niching, which is something I spoke about when I was on a panel of discussion about a year ago, thereabouts. You can look for it on the channel and listen to it, especially as a young lawyer. And so the second thing it will do for you is it will help you to focus all your research and studying and groundwork, in that aspect of law. So you could even get an LLM or a PhD in that aspect of law. It will just help you build your specialization over the years, to help you focus on direct all your energy, in one area of law. And the third thing that it will do for you is that it will help you build a name fast. So very soon, in a matter of time, if you are consistent, consistency is key. So if you are consistent, people will begin to say, oh, is it a labor and employment matter? Go to Mujalalu. Is it a criminal matter? Go to Mujalalu. Or is it intellectual property? Mujalalu is your best bet. Now, this is for litigation, not just for all types of practice. I think I've done a video where I talked about different opportunities are available for lawyers to practice in Nigeria, but this one is for litigation lawyers. The areas of litigation that you can focus your energy in, that you can build your practice around. It might mean that in your beginning stages you might also do some other areas, but you make that area key such that by the progression of time, that area becomes your focus. That is if you're interested in building a specialized practice. If you're not, it's okay, it's fine. And then you might not need to narrow down your practice, but let's get right into it. The first area of practice I want to talk about is family law. Family law is a very wide area of law. It's an area of law wherein I'm also building my practice, and you can also decide to do that, because everyone has a right to private and family life in Nigeria. It is enshrined in the Constitution, and no one can really do without family life. If you're not talking about your parents, you're talking about your children, you're talking about your spouse, you're talking about your siblings, different areas of family law. And in that, we would have divorce, would have matrimonial causes. Generally, we have divorce, we have justification of marriage, we have separation, judicial separation, we have custody of children, we have child welfare and maintenance, and maintenance of a spouse as well. And then we would also have areas like wills, estate planning, obtaining letters of administration for clients, enforcing the fulfillment of someone's burial instructions, different areas of law, but all of these are in family law. So we can have that, and you can build your practice around that. And you can build your practice around that. It's very expansive if you pay attention to it. So family law is the first area of litigation. And when I'm talking about it, I'm talking about litigation in the sense that, for instance, if someone is to obtain letters of administration, sometimes you in some jurisdictions you have to apply to court for an order, instead, as opposed to where in some jurisdictions going to the probate registry. So that's litigation as well. If a will is being contested now, you would have to go to court for it. That's litigation. Divorce is litigation. Juxtaposition is litigation. Separation is litigation. Annulment of marriage is litigation. So many things. And then you can have child welfare, child custody. These things are litigation. So it's a very important aspect that you can focus on as a litigation lawyer. So it's a very key aspect of law that you can build a practice around as a litigation lawyer. You can do further research, but family law is the first that we're talking about today. The second area of law is small claims. Small claims. You can be a small claims lawyer. Build a practice around it so that when people are looking for you online, if they Google small claims lawyer in Nigeria, you can be so good and so notorious that your name will come out. You can build a website, your law firm website, such that, the vibes that people are getting, the information, the communication you are sending to people is that my practice is about small claims. Small claims are claims of monetary claims that are, small in nature. Different courts have the minimum amount or the maximum amount that can be classified as a small claims, and that can be classified as a small claims. And even in some jurisdictions, there are small claims courts. So you don't even have to get to the main court. What that does for your practice is that you might be you'll be getting cases that are focused in that area. You'll be able to build a specialization so that you will know everything there is to know about small claims, and you will be the small claims lawyer. You'll be getting justice for people in no time, because if in your jurisdiction there's a specialized small claims court, that means that you don't have to go and queue at the main court, for years or for months, at a time. You could be getting things done faster. So that's what specializing does for you. There are different specialized courts now. There's family courts in most jurisdictions, for instance, that for family law area of litigation that I mentioned earlier. So small claims is another aspect. You can read up about it, you can do your research, and you can build a practice around small claims. So you just be the small claims lawyer. So another area of law that we want to talk about today is labor and employment law. Labor and employment law is very juicy, very important, especially if you have a passion for people being treated right, in the workplace. I have that passion, I believe. I've written a number of things about labor law, and I have a matter in court about labor law even at the moment. So it's important if you want to get justice for people who have been harshly treated in their place of work, or for even employers who have been wrongfully treated or wrongfully, whose employees are breaching their contract. You can also be a labor and employment lawyer. You can build a practice around it. What it does for you is that it builds CNM in no time, and then people will tell people. So if someone is aggrieved today, maybe the same thing is happening to everyone at their place of work. They could even come to you for a class action, or even if it's a personal action, he will tell his friend or she will tell her friend that, oh, this is the lawyer that got me justice against my company, this is the lawyer that I spoke to about this and that, and they would keep coming to you. Then you know that there's a national industrial court that attends to labor and employment matters in Nigeria. So you're sure that you're going to just one court. You have to focus on understanding the rules of just one court, and then you already know the workings of the court. So you can predict and tell your clients that, okay, we'll get judgment in this matter in maybe 6 months to 2 years, or okay, this is what will happen, this is how this court operates. So you have a good understanding of the registry as well, so that you're not just to and fro, unnecessarily. How Nigerian law courts registries can be. So labor and employment matter, labor and employment law, labor and employment litigation is another aspect of law that you can build your practice around. So there are different things in labor and employment. There's work hazard litigation, there's class action. In labor and employment law, you can go to court and litigate on different matters. You can go to court and litigate on work hazard, on unlawful dismissal, on wrongful termination, on unfair labor practices. Even on employment and retirement benefits, you can always go to court and sue and get judgment or justice, and or both, for your clients on those causes. So labor and employment litigation is another aspect that you can look into if you're trying to specialize as a litigation lawyer. Another aspect that you can look at is fundamental rights enforcement. That's a very, very, very important part of litigation. Very important. You get bail for people who have been charged to court, for one offense or the other. You can file for the enforcement of people's fundamental rights who have been wrongfully detained or illegally or unlawfully detained, by the Nigerian police or other law enforcement agency. I had a session with a guest that came and talked, in total about enforcement of fundamental rights. Please look for that video. I did it with Mr. Agbo, a lawyer in Nigeria also. You can watch it for you to understand the enforcement of fundamental rights in Nigeria. So you could be that lawyer. Over time, those lawyers are usually referred to as human rights activists. I know that you would probably have a name or two in your mind already. So you can build a practice around that, helping people enforce their fundamental human rights, and over time you get to build a name for yourself. The money will come in, and because this thing is very rampant, the Nigerian law enforcement agencies are always detaining one person or the other wrongfully and illegally, or beyond the time or beyond the time stipulated by the Constitution. So it's something that you keep getting briefs. It's an area of law where you keep getting briefs. I know that some people are even referred to as charge and bail lawyers. They lurk around courts. They help people get their bail and then they disappear and all of that. So I don't want you to build a practice like that. It's not the best, but what I'm saying is that you can build a standard practice where people will actually come to brief you and they know that you will get justice. You will help their detained person, you help them come out in good time, and you will help them enforce their fundamental rights against the law enforcement agencies. So that's another area of law that you should look at if you're trying to niche for litigation. Another aspect that I want to talk about, the fifth aspect, is debt recovery. That's another important aspect. You could, be the lawyer to loan companies, loan facilities, loan agencies, to credit facilities, to banks, and other financial institutions, helping them recover debts, recover loans, recover, debts that has been incurred by their customers. You can help in the liquidation process, for instance, getting court orders to liquidate assets when people are not, when a loan is due and unpaid, and what have you. So it's a very juicy aspect of law. So if you want a niche, you should look at it, read more, study about it, and it could just be, your own thing, debt recovery litigation. The sixth aspect that we want to talk about today is criminal litigation. Criminal litigation is so wide and broad, and a constant, because every day people commit crime. So either you're for the state or you're for the defendant. It is an area of law that will always bring briefs, because people are committing crime every day. And it's an area of law that also ensures that you help maintain justice in the society, because your brief is really just to ensure that, if you're on the state side, to ensure that a guilty party does not go scot-free, and if you're on the defendant side, to ensure that an innocent party does not go to jail. And even on both sides, you have to ensure both things, that a guilty party does not go scot-free and an innocent party does not go to jail. So you can look at it. There are several courses of action in criminal law, criminal litigation. In criminal litigation, you have robbery, rape, assault, battery, you have stealing, you have fraud. You could even work with law enforcement agencies like EFCC, like NDLEA and what have you, or the Nigerian police, or with ministries of justice of states. So criminal litigation is another area of law where you can niche and build a practice. And once people know that this person is solely committed to this aspect of law, they will tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a foe, and they will come looking for you. So that's another area of law where you can build a practice. The seventh area of law is property law practice. So you could be a property litigation lawyer. So property litigation lawyer, every day people are fighting about land, people are fighting about movables, immovable property. So you could be the one getting them justice, helping them to claim ownership, helping them to claim possession and what have you. So property law litigation, if you go to Nigerian courts daily, you find out that property litigation is so rampant. There's always someone fighting about ownership to land, title to land in one court or the other. So it's another area of law that you should look at. So property litigation, very juicy too. Although the upside is that in Nigeria, it can take a while, it can take time. It can take years before you get to judgment stage because of several adjournments, and it's a convolution of factors. But if it's something that you're interested in, you can look into it, and it's juicy, and there are clients in that aspect, because as long as the earth and nails, people will continue to fight over ownership and title to land. So it's an area of law that you can build a practice around. The eighth area of law that I want to talk about today is tenancies. You can build a practice around tenancies, as basic as it is. I've told you on this channel before that I'm a mediator, and when we did an almost 2-year data at our facility, we found out that the highest number of cases that we are disputes that we mediated upon are tenancies. So every day one landlord is telling the tenant to get out, and the tenant is saying, no, I'm not going. Or one tenant is saying, my landlord is disturbing me, I want this, I don't want that. So tenancies, is something that you can also build a litigation practice around. Help people recover possession of their property as landlords, help tenants assert their rights against their landlords. You can, we've talked about enforcement of judgments. Even after you've gotten the order for eviction, you can also go back to court and get them warrants of possession and what have you. So tenancies is another area of litigation that you can build a practice around. The ninth area of law that I want to talk about is intellectual property litigation. That is very, very key and important. So for instance, I'm an intellectual property lawyer, but my own practice, my focus is on I'm listed on iPlan, for instance. That's the Institute of that's the Intellectual Property Law Association of Nigeria, and I'm a member of WIPO ADR Young. That's World Intellectual Property Organization, Alternative Dispute Resolution Young for young lawyers. And but my area of law, my specialty is copyrights, and related rights, but it's for consultancy. My area of law, what I do essentially is I help you as a creative to understand or to identify when you have a protected right. So I don't go to court for people when the right has been infringed upon and you want to enforce and get judgment. But I help you to understand that you have this right and this is how to protect it, and this is what you should do or what you should not do, or you don't even have a right yet, or this right has been infringed. I get to that point, but I don't take you to court. I don't go to court for you. So if you're a lawyer and you are into litigation and you're also interested in intellectual property, you can build a practice around litigation. You can build a practice around litigation of infringement of intellectual property. So once people have decided, or once they want to know, so once people, creatives, owners of intellectual property have decided, or maybe they want to know if they have a case in court, they come to you and then you go to court for them. So it's an area of law that you can build a practice around. It's getting more coverage in Nigeria, and more people are beginning to understand, that, you should go to court for these things. I've talked about some of the cases on this channel. You can look at the videos that I did on copyright, on trademarks, on related rights. I talked about Nicki Minaj and Tracy Chapman. I wrote about Onyeka Onwenu and Iroko TV's case, and whatnot. So you should look at those articles that I've written. Check the description box of some of these videos on intellectual property rights. I even have a playlist on intellectual property. I've brought a guest here who talked extensively about trademarks. That's what he does. He registers trademarks for people, so you can watch those videos, contact those people that I've brought, to read up on the cases that are, contact the lawyer that I've brought, read up on the cases that I've talked about, and build a practice around intellectual property litigation. If you go on Twitter, on average, if we say in the space of, if you go on Nigerian Twitter, for instance, you see the Nigerian section of Twitter, and give it like maybe 3 months in a year, every 3 months, there's an artist, a creative that is coming out to say that someone stole their intellectual property, someone infringed on their intellectual property. So these people need to go to court to enforce their rights. Twitter is not a court. Twitter does not give judgment, enforceable judgment, although it could be, a pathway to justice in some instances, just in some instances, especially for intellectual property, because you need to be able to quantify the damage done and be able to ask for something substantial and commensurate. So people need a lawyer to do this, and there are so many creatives springing up, these days. You can even build a practice such that you can work with them for consultancy. You can work with them, up to the point where it is infringed upon, and then you can still go to court for them. So intellectual property litigation is another aspect of law that you should look at if you're interested in niching for your litigation practice. The last but not the least area of litigation is personal injuries. Torts are personal injuries. So you could be the personal injury lawyer, the A-list personal injury lawyer in Nigeria. That I don't want to, we are not supposed to be touting as lawyers, but you know what I'm talking about. So if you be the practice, when people have personal injury, maybe they've been assaulted, maybe it's a neighbor difference, or someone has encroached into the land of the other person, someone's monkey is jumping into the other person's banana plantation as neighbors with shared boundaries, shared fence, and they are taking over their banana, destroying their bananas. Someone is being negligent. Someone has been negligent and it has occasioned damage for the other person, maybe even medical negligence and what have you. You could be the personal injury lawyer that people will come to. Personal injury is also something that is not that popular in Nigeria because we like to give everything to God. But God has appointed you as a lawyer on earth to help him, to represent him, to get justice for people. So you can also build a law practice around torts, personal injury. If you look at some jurisdictions, if you look at some law firms' websites, what they focus on is personal injury. That's what they're selling to you. That's the value that they're offering you, just personal injury. So you already know that if this is if your matter is a criminal matter, you don't go to that kind of firm. Not that they are not competent or they don't know how it would go or what should happen, but personal injury is their forte, is their specialty. So it just helps to separate, who should come to you and who shouldn't come to you. So it will also help you to standardize your fees, so nobody will be pricing your market like a granite and bully and what's not. So very important, you can build your practice around torts. So those are 10 areas of law that you can build your litigation practice around as a litigation lawyer in Nigeria, or as a young lawyer starting out with keen interest in litigation. And you can even combine all 10 and even more. So that's all I have for you in this video. I will see you in my very next video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Toodles!